So this is the fifth video in the series about crisis management and the crises we have, and looking at the causes of the crises and what's going on and why they're happening and what can we do about them, and so on. So in 1999, I was doing some work for one of the biggest South African retirement companies, and I learned something very interesting, that even people that do the maximum investing for retirement, which I think is 15%. You can take 15% of your income. So if you're earning, say, 10,000 Rand a month, you take 1,500 Rand a month of before tax money and you invest it in retirement funding, and you do that for 45 years, your whole working career. And eventually, when you retire, when you're 65, you're meant to have enough, you're meant to have enough money that you can retire on and, continue living and so on in the style that you're accustomed to. But maybe by the time you retire, you're living in a big house. You've got your children come stay with you, whatever the case is. And most people who even have all this retirement money and annuity income don't have enough to retire on, and they end up having to sell assets in order to sustain their lifestyle. Or even worse is that maybe they've lived in a house 20, 30 years, and then they have to sell their house and downsize, maybe move into a flat. And why should they have to do that? Why is it that during the retirement funding, you go and look at these retirement companies, people are driving expensive cars, living expensive lifestyles, getting big bonuses, and yet when you retire, there's not enough money for you to retire on. And then they'll tell you, oh, you retired in a bad year because the economy is down. But what about, if you've got 45 years, you've got maybe 35 years of the economy went up and 10 years the economy went down. I don't know. But you're giving your money to these professionals, and they meant to be looking after your money so that your money grows, and therefore you have enough money to retire on. But you then focused on the money you need to earn to pay the retirement funding to live when you retire. And you have to have what I've written on this chart, on this graph, on this picture, on the slide, is normal retirement planning. You have to have increasing income to cover increasing expenses. So what happens is your electricity price goes up, your water price goes up, your transport price goes up, your food price goes up, and all your price, your medical price goes up, your education price goes up, your travel price goes up, your holiday price goes up. It's all going up because of inflation and because of other reasons. Also because maybe you're earning more, and so you're spending more. Instead of taking, suppose you got an extra 1,000 Rand a month, you should take, and maybe you pay 100 Rand over there on tax and other things. Maybe you end up with 800 Rand. You should take the 800 Rand and say, okay, half is for me, for my life, for buying the new smartphone, whatever it is, and the other half is for investments. So that's what people do. They take the money, some of the money, and they invest it in retirement funds, and in all kinds of other possibilities to build that nest egg. And then eventually maybe they have shares, and maybe the shares become worth something. Maybe they sell the shares and they buy a flat, and they rent the flat out to get income. And that's what people are doing. Some people say, well, I can't afford anything. I'm spending every cent I get, so I'll get the government money. And the government money is about 1,000 or 1,500 Rand a month when you retire. And that's not enough to live on, really. In a 3-bedroom house, your electricity price might be 2,000 Rand a month. If you're getting 1,000 Rand a month, 1,500 Rand from the government, it's not enough to even just pay for your electricity bill. And now you've seen that with 2 years of lockdowns, lockouts, wars, all the normal stuff going on in the world, that inflation is sky high. I think Turkey's inflation is 17%. South Africa's inflation maybe is 7-8%, and therefore the central banks are putting up interest rates. But from an inflation point of view, interest rates should only go up because the economy is overheating. The economies are not overheating. In fact, the economies are losing jobs faster than ever. People don't have money to spend, most people, and therefore interest rates are going up for the wrong reasons. If the money supply is too high, the money supply can be strangled, so that to reduce the money supply without putting interest rates up. So there are other alternatives. The central banks say, oh, we're going to put up interest rates to reduce inflation. But actually, as they put up interest rates in this environment, they're actually going to increase inflation. And so that means that things are going to get more expensive. The interest rate goes up. The companies have to pay the interest rate. They have to pay more interest. and therefore they're going to have to charge you more, and therefore the inflation is going to go higher, and therefore the central bank will have to put interest rates up again, and there'll be this never-ending vicious circle of interest rate increase, price increase, interest rate increase, price increase, until we find that we have a Zimbabwe or an Argentina or a Yugoslavia where you have 1,000, 10,000% inflation per year, and you can earn your money in the morning and go and buy a loaf of bread, and by the evening you can't afford a loaf of bread anymore because the inflation is so high. So the problem with this paradigm of the normal retirement planning and the normal way we run our life is we have to keep increasing how much we earn. And if you work for yourself and you maybe getting an inflationary increase, maybe 6%, if inflation is 9%, then you have to find another 3% somewhere. And so people are working in the gig economy, people are working part-time, people are taking extra jobs, and then because they're not having time off with their families and holidays and so on, they're burning out. So, there's lots of possibilities, but if we look at a situation where we have to increase our income to cover increasing expenses, then we're in a never-ending spiral. And maybe there's a different way of looking at that. And maybe we're going to look at that tomorrow. So please stay with me. If you haven't watched the first 4 videos, you'll find them in the playlist that this video is in. So when you finish watching the video, go watch video 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then maybe watch this one again if you want to. Please share, like, and subscribe. And if you have questions, please ask the questions. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. In the meantime, I wish you many blessings and much success. And please think about, in the next 24 hours, what alternatives are there to the way we run our lives now, where we have to have increasing income to constantly cover increasing expenses. Thank you very much.